Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Oxygen Builder in 2023. The team at Oxygen have been hard at work and they have made significant improvement to Oxygen since last year. There have been a lot of improvements, a lot of updates, and there's been a lot of additions to Oxygen. So we're going to be taking a look at some of these updates and see how they make Oxygen better, smarter, and faster. Since the release of Oxygen 4.0 last year, there have been four major iterations of the 4.0. We have 4.1 all the way to 4.6, and we're going to be taking a look at these one after the other. Let's start with version 4.1. One of the most exciting features of this release is the cross-site copy and paste. Prior to this time, you could not copy and paste Oxygen content from one site to another. Even within the same site, it was not possible. So we had to use tools like Hydrogen Pack, Hydrogen Paste, Swiss Knife, and a couple of other external add-ons to make this possible in Oxygen. But in Oxygen 4.1, it's now easy to reuse design elements across different projects. So let me demonstrate that. Now, this is a design from my website. It's just a copy of my website. And let's say I want to move this. It's from a different domain, okay? I want to move this from here to here. So I have all this content inside one div. You could go ahead to copy them one after the other if you wish, but I put all of them in the same div just so that I can just copy them all at once. So export, and then I can come here and you will see an import button here. So if I click import, all I need to do is to paste the JSON data and import it, and everything is imported into this site. The colors may look different because they use CSS variables, so they just adapt to the global colors on this side. So everything that was there is being copied over. So now this might look different. That's because of the screen size, the styling for the screen size. So if I go ahead and do that and then do the same here, so you can see that it's basically the same style. Okay, the only difference is I haven't copied the header because the header is in the header template, but everything is the same. You can see all the stylings are applied. Oxygen 4.1 also includes the expanded unit field. So let me insert a section here, and then I'm going to go to the unit field. And if I want to put, let's say, let me just put something like a div there. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to do a calc function on the padding. So if I say calc, or maybe if variable, let's say var, let's say space M. Okay, now you see that this unit, you can't see what is there, but if you go to none, it's going to automatically expand the unit. So that is one of the features that was brought to Oxygen 4.1, and this is also available in the global settings in the relevant field. So any field that you can choose none, once you click on it, it expands just like that. This expands. If I click on this none, it expands, which allows you to see the CSS variable or the calculated values that you have. Revision management has also been added. Now, if you go to the back end under the revision tab, over here you can set the maximum number of latest revisions, and you can set the maximum number of daily revisions, and you have the ability to delete all revisions all at once. So this is a very welcome addition. Oxygen 4.1 also added support for tabbed navigation in the menu and pro menu elements. Prior to this time, these elements were not keyboard accessible, but from Oxygen 4.1, the support for tabbed navigation has been added. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a menu, and then I believe it should pull in some of the menus I have. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to go to the front end to check it out. So let's check it out. I'm going to go ahead and hit the tab key on my keyboard and see what is going to happen. So I'm going to hit this. You can see that this menu has support, and even the drop down items, if I continue to tap, it goes out. Now let's take a look at the pro menu element. So I'm going to just pro menu, and let's see if that is going to have support also. And then we have that, and then we have the same for the pro menu. Of course, we haven't styled this, but that is not the focus of this video. Finally, in Oxygen 4.1, there have been multiple changes made to make the load time even faster than it was, and there's been a lot of bug fixes. If you want to know more about the changes in 4.1, visit the Oxygen site and see the change log. Moving on to 4.2. In Oxygen 4.2, Oxygen now supports automatic unit detection. So let's say I'm selecting this, I go into the section and I want to change this to minimum height to, now the default unit here is pixel, but I want to change it to 100 VH. So I can just type 100 and then I can hit VH and it automatically changes. So if I want to do maybe 30%, you see it automatically changes. So that is awesome. Another feature in 4.2 is unwrap code block. Now that is better demonstrated because it's kind of difficult to explain. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this, and then I'm gonna add a code block here. So normally this option was not available before, unwrap code block PHP. Now we see hello world is here, right? I'm gonna save this and I'm gonna go to the front end. Let's take a look at what we have. So I'm gonna just refresh that. And then you see the hello world. So if I right click and inspect, let me bring this in here. Now, if I inspect this hello world, you're going to see that we have a code block element. So we have the section and the inner wrap of the section, and these we have div that wraps around the hello world. Now, unwrap code block means that you can unwrap this div and just allow the code block to execute the code without wrapping it in a div, and that can be used for many use cases. So if I go ahead and then I go to the primary tab and click on wrap code block and save it, and then I refresh this, let's go back to check that what happens. Now you can see that we only have the section and the inner wrap, and we have the hello world inside it. Prior to this time we had another div inside the inner section, okay, but now we have just the hello world. So it unwraps the div that was there. Now the advanced users will find this very useful. Let me just give you an example of what you can use this to do. So let's say I had a couple of sections. So I'm going to move this code block outside this section, and then I'm going to duplicate this section. Maybe I have, and then I wanted for a reason to wrap these sections with a particular tag, maybe a particular code or something, but let me demonstrate it with a simple div. I'm just going to go in here and then I'm just going to write a div, and then I'm going to duplicate that code block, right? And I'm going to move it all the way here, and then I'm going to close that div tag. All right, so let's save this, and then let's say I give that div a class. Let's just say class is equal to my code div. All right, and so let's go and check on the front end what happens. So if I refresh this, and then of course we don't have hello world because we don't have hello world, it's a div. But take a look at this, what happens. So you can see that unwrapping the code block just executes the HTML code div and div close. So we have a div here opens, and that divs encloses the 4 sections. It's just as if you will wrap the whole section in a div. So if I go ahead to style that div, let's say I have element my code div, okay, the class, and I say background yellow, you can see that it goes ahead to style the whole of that div. So this is very useful if you wanted to do some very complex HTML or PHP or anything you wanted to do with it. Advanced users are going to find this very useful. So those were the major changes that came to Oxygen 4.2. Let's move on to 4.3. Oxygen 4.3 introduced the new accessible menu element called the site navigation. This menu element was focused on improving accessibility for site navigation that supports keyboard navigation, and it is even more accessible than the previous support for tab navigation. So I'm going to add the nav. It's called site navigation. So this is a new menu element. It's not the normal menu element. It's not the pro menu. It's called site navigation. So this is how it looks, and it has a lot of settings. So I'm just going to quickly take a look at it. So you have the mobile settings, the general style, the CTA style. I can enable the last item to be CTA. So that means the call to action button is part of the nav. So you don't have a separate call to action button. If you want to have how many CTA, you want to have 2, and you have it. So you have the last 2 Okay, you want it to be solid, outline solid, background, you know, you can change the background for both of them. You can change the text color for both of them. You could change the color on hover. Let's save this and check it out. I want to drop this inside a section, so I can, let's drop that inside a section. And then I'm going to refresh the site. All right, so we have our site navigation. So if I tap here, now what I want is to have a drop down. So I'm going to deactivate that general CTA style for the second one, okay, for the project, so I can have my drop down. So I'm going to save that and then take a look at it again. And then I'm going to refresh this. And then so if I tap, notice if I come here, it doesn't activate, okay? It doesn't activate. If I hit enter, it activates, okay? I can shift tab to go up. Then if I want to go out, I can press escape. It goes back there and then continue. So it is very, very accessible with all the area levels and the proper HTML semantic. So with the new site navigation elements, you can build accessible menus. And it has a lot of settings, the mobile settings. Let's switch to mobile here. And then if you go here, you can see everything is accessible. See, very nice. Nice. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Enter Oxygen 4.4, which introduces the ability to edit style sheet externally. And not just that, it gives you the ability to lock a style sheet to avoid accidental overriding of style while you're working in the editor. Over the back end, if you go to Oxygen, under the Oxygen tab, you're going to see style sheet. And then when you open that, you're going to see okay, so you have a warning. You say, to avoid your changes being overridden, please close Oxygen or enable lock sheets in the style sheet editor settings. Now, if lock sheet is enabled, you'll only be able to edit style sheet from this screen. Let's say I have maybe a section here, and I'm going to give it a class. I'm just going to call it my section. Okay. Now I'm going to save that. So I have my, style sheet. So I'm just going to add a new style sheet. Just call it new style sheet, new styles. Okay, so I've created a style sheet here, and then I want to target my section. Very nice, the bracket closes and places this. Just everything is just nice here. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a minimum height of 100 VH, and then I'm going to give it a background of yellow. All right, so let's I'm going to just think this is the save. Yeah, that is save, right? This is delete selected sheets. This is save. So I'm just going to save this, and I'll go to the front end, refresh, and then you can see that that style is applied. Now, but what if I want to, if I go to this, okay, I can even go to distraction free mode, okay? And then if I go to hot reload, that means if I make any changes here, I say red, and then save it, Ctrl A saves it. And you can see if I go back here, let me close that and open this again. Okay, so let's try that again. So I will change it to green and then save it. Oh yeah, so it reloads. So that first, because this page was already open before I opened the style sheet, that did not register. So you can see anything I want to do now, I can do. So I want to change this again to maybe say 50 viewport height. Press Ctrl S, it reloads. Yeah, Ctrl S reloads. I think the reason it didn't register is because we already have a style here that is 100 VH. So yep, let's remove all that. Now watch what is going to happen. If I save some here and I come to refresh, it wipes out the settings that I've done here. Okay, so to avoid that, you can go in and lock the sheet. Okay, and then I'm gonna save this again, and let's see. This is gonna I have to close this. Yep, let's open it again. So that applies. But now if I go here to the style sheet, I still have the ability to edit the style sheet. But if I refresh this page, because you have to lock the style sheet, you have to lock it before opening the editor. If I refresh this page, then I will no longer have the ability. Okay, so you see, to edit style sheet or allow them to be edited inside Oxygen, go to Oxygen style sheet in the WordPress admin. So that gives you the ability to work with different people without overriding your style sheet. Let's move to Oxygen 4.5. Oxygen 4.5 sees the integration of image, which allows you to add elements on your page with image abbreviation. This makes it much faster to create new elements and speed up your design process if you know what you're doing. To use the image, you go over to the add panel and then you click on the icon, that search icon. It's going to change it to image. Another way you can activate it is by Ctrl+Shift+E. That is a shortcut, Ctrl+Shift+E, and then you could go ahead and add a section. Now I'm going to delete all the elements from the page. Okay, let me just take everything out. Shift-Ctrl+E, and then I write section and hit enter. You can see I have a section there. What if I wanted to have a section with a div inside? I can add a section and then dash div, and then inside that div I want to have a paragraph plus a button. Well, you have to know the abbreviations. Let's see if we have that. So you see we have that. Okay, what if you wanted to add a section with a class? So Shift-Ctrl+E, and section dot my new section, that is the class, and then I want to have two divs inside. So I'm going to say div dot card. So that is, I want to give that a class of card plus div dot card. I'll give it the same class, and then we have a section that has my new class, and then we have a div that has a class of card. Now if you go over to the Oxygen's channel, there is an extensive demonstration of how the complex layout you can build with the image abbreviations. Now on to 4.6. Oxygen 4.6 is the latest iteration as at the time of this recording, and they have finally introduced the ability for custom tags in repeaters. So prior to this time, you could not add a custom tag to your repeater. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a repeater. So let me delete everything here, and then I'm going to add a section. Okay, let me just add a section. All right, and then I want to add a repeater. Let me just add a repeater. If you select your repeater, you have the ability to change the tag. Now, a lot of times when you are creating cards, you want to list them out as, let's say, product cards or a blog post list. You want to use the ULLI structure. Now you are able to change this to a UL, and then you can change this to LI. So you can have custom tag with LI. And then if you go to the front end, you're going to have your proper semantic HTML. Also introduced in version 4.6 is support for lazy loading gallery and video elements. So if you go to the video element, let's take a look at that. You have the option of lazy loading the video. Also fixed in 4.6 is one of the long-standing issue, which is sections minimum height. Prior to this time, if you add a section and then you give it a minimum height, let's say 100 VH, what usually happens is that the inner wrap usually doesn't take up that 100 VH. But right now, if you add 100 VH to a section, if we go here, let's refresh that and take a look, you find out that the inner wrap, now the section's minimum height is 100 VH down. The inner wrap now has a minimum height of inherit. You can see it here. The section inner wrap has a minimum height of inherit, which allows you to properly position elements in the section. Also available in 4.6 is the ability to add preview drop-down limit to your Oxygen editor. So if you're working in a template, you usually have a preview here, so you can limit the drop down, the number of items to drop down in the editor. Finally, one of the major bugs that have been fixed in 4.6 is to have the gap value output double unit. Let's say you have a section like this, and then you want to go and set a gap value. Sometimes you write maybe 2 rem, and then on the front end when you check it, it usually shows 2 rem as an invalid unit. So now if we go ahead and check here, so I'm just going to check this, and that section, you can see that it is outputting the right thing. Before, what you're going to see is rem, and that will cancel out as an invalid unit. So this has been fixed. Now that is not all. There are a lot of minor bug fixes, so many of them that I can't cover in this video. So if you want to know about it, so go over to the Oxygen site and check the changelog. Chances are the bugs that have been bothering you has been fixed. So there you have it. Oxygen Builder has made significant improvement to the platform since last year, and they are continuing to make the platform even better. From cross-site copy and paste to image integration and improved navigation, Oxygen Builder is better, smarter, and faster than ever. And I do hope you found this video useful. And as always, thank you for watching.